He spent 11 years in prison fighting for his people's freedom. He walked out and built a nation from nothing. And then, over 37 years, he slowly became the very thing he had fought against. His name was Robert Mugabe, and his numbers tell one of the most complex and haunting stories in African history. Let's decode him. The man before the numbers. Understand who this man was before power touched him. His father, Gabriel, was a carpenter from Nyasaland. His mother, Bona, belonged to the prominent Shona ethnic group. In 1934, Mugabe's father deserted the family, leaving them in poverty. Mugabe did not see him for another 10 years. A boy abandoned by his father, raised in a Jesuit mission, driven entirely by his mother's faith and his own burning hunger for education. He taught school for 15 years across Rhodesia and Ghana and pursued further education, eventually earning multiple graduate degrees, including 2 law degrees earned entirely by correspondence while in prison. This is a man who refused to let any circumstance, poverty, colonialism, or imprisonment stop his mind from growing. Now understand the country Mugabe inherited. When Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980, the country had approximately 200,000 white citizens, including 4,500 commercial farmers who controlled the majority of the agricultural land, while the black majority had been systematically excluded from land ownership for generations under colonial rule. This land question was not just political, it was the open wound at the heart of the nation, and it would eventually define and destroy Mugabe's legacy. He was born on the 21st. 2 + 1 = 3. The number 3 is the number of the communicator, the orator, the teacher, the one who moves people through words and vision. This is deeply fitting for Mugabe. He was an outstanding student from childhood, educated at a Jesuit mission school and later one of Africa's most prestigious universities. He became a teacher before he became a politician. He taught English to fellow prisoners while serving 11 years behind bars. 3 energy produces people who lead through intellect and communication. Mugabe was one of the most educated leaders Africa ever produced, and he knew it. The danger of 3 is pride. When the communicator begins to believe their own voice above all others, the gift becomes a weapon. Now let's calculate his life path. February is the 2nd month. Born in 1924. 2 + 1 + 2 + 1 + 9 + 2 + 4 = 21, which equals 2 + 1 = 3. Life path 3, matching his birthday number exactly. When your birthday and life path are the same number, that is called a double confirmation. Everything in this person's purpose runs through one frequency. For Mugabe, that frequency was 3. The teacher, the communicator, the visionary orator. This double 3 explains why he was so extraordinarily powerful in his prime, and why his downfall was so dramatic. A doubled frequency amplifies both the gifts and the shadow. The shadow of 3 is arrogance, self-deception, and an inability to hear criticism. A double 3 in full shadow becomes someone who silences every voice but their own. Now, his full name, Robert Mugabe. R = 9, O = 6, B = 2, E = 5, R = 9, T = 2, = 33, M = 4, U = 3, G = 7, A = 1, B = 2, E = 5, = 22. 33 + 22 = 55. 5 + 5 = 10. 1 + 0 = 1. Expression number 1, the pioneer and the leader. 1 is the number of independence, leadership, and self-determination. It is the frequency of someone who must lead, who cannot follow, cannot be controlled, and who carves new paths where none existed before. Combined with his double 3 life path, you have a man built to lead through communication, built to pioneer new territory, and built to stand completely alone if necessary. This is the profile of a true revolutionary. But one energy also carries the deepest shadow of all, the inability to share power, the conviction that only they can be trusted with the vision. Born February 21st, Mugabe was a Pisces, ruled by Neptune. Pisces is the sign of vision, idealism, and spiritual depth. Neptune governs dreams, illusions, and the blurring of reality. Pisces people often carry enormous compassion, a genuine desire to lift the suffering of others. In his early years, Mugabe genuinely embodied this. As prime minister, he initially followed a pragmatic course designed to improve the lot of Black Zimbabweans through increased wages, improved social services, and food subsidies. But Neptune's shadow is self-deception and delusion. A Pisces leader who loses their moral anchor can convince themselves that what they are doing is still righteous, long after reality has moved on. This is precisely what happened to Mugabe. The liberation. Mugabe was arrested in 1964 for subversive speech and spent the next 10 years in prison. During that period, he acquired law degrees by correspondence courses. While still in prison, he led a coup deposing Sithole as ZANU's leader. On April 18, 1980, Mugabe took office as prime minister of the newly independent Zimbabwe, the culmination of a liberation struggle that had cost thousands of lives. A carpenter's abandoned son, an 11-year prisoner, now the leader of a free nation. That is a life path 3 and expression 1, fully activated.
And here is where the frequency turns dark. In 1982, Mugabe sent his North Korean-trained 5th Brigade to the Zapu stronghold of Matabeleland. Over 5 years, 20,000 Ndebele civilians were killed. In 2008, hyperinflation reached 500 billion%, and the Zimbabwean dollar became almost worthless. Although ZANU-PF forced him to step down in 2017, when he seemed poised to appoint his second wife Grace as his successor, he had already ruled for 37 years. He died on September 6, 2019 in Singapore, and was buried in the village of his birth, in Kutama, Zimbabwe. The liberator who became the oppressor. The teacher who silenced every student who disagreed. The double 3 in full shadow. The honest verdict, 1315 to 1345. Here at Birth Frequency, we don't sanitize history. We decode it honestly. Mugabe's numbers gave him everything he needed to be one of Africa's greatest leaders. The 3 gave him the mind and the voice. The 1 gave him the courage to pioneer. Pisces gave him the vision. But numbers are not destiny. They are potential. What a person does with that potential, the choices they make when power corrupts, when fear takes over, when pride blinds, that is on them. Mugabe's frequency was extraordinary. His choices in the end were not. Both things are true. The close, 1345 to 1400. Robert Gabriel Mugabe, born February 21st, 1924, died September 6th, 2019, aged 95. Birthday 3, the teacher and communicator. Life path 3, double confirmation of that frequency. Expression 1, the pioneer who could not share power. Pisces Neptune, the visionary who lost touch with reality. 37 years in power, a liberation hero, a cautionary tale. Africa deserves the full truth of its leaders, the greatness and the failure. That is the only way we learn. This is Birth Frequency, and Africa's story is just getting started. Subscribe, share this, and drop in the comments, which African leader do you want decoded next? See you in episode 5.